Hey, I wanted to talk to you about ground cherries. You ever see these things? You ever grow them? I've been growing these for a few years. This variety is Aunt Molly's ground cherries from Baker Creek. They're kind of like a tomatillo. They're very similar, except they're much smaller. And you can eat them fresh. They're kind of tropical. They're kind of fruity. They're kind of like pineapple. They go by a lot of nicknames, but I had never had them until a couple years ago when I grew them for the first time, and I loved them. And my kids love to eat them, and so I've been growing them. And then I heard that there was a perennial version, and I got these last year. Let's see, can you read that? So these are, it says Peruvian Goldenberry, also known as Perennial ground cherry. There's other names that people call them, Cape Gooseberries, Huskberries, and it gets a little confusing online with all the, they're very similar to the regular ground cherries, but it's actually a separate species. They look very similar, they grow very similar, but they actually taste quite a bit different, and one of them will grow back the next year. They are a nightshade, and they like it hot, like most nightshades, you know, similar to tomatoes or tomatillos. So, if you are not in a hot area, like me, I recommend growing them in a greenhouse. They can do pretty well outside for a few months, but for where I am, they do much better in my greenhouse than they do outside. I mostly neglect my plants. I don't water them much. I don't give them any fertilizer. Maybe just a little bit of compost at the beginning and some mulch on top, and let them do their thing. Now, ground cherries, they call ground cherries because, you know, they're ripe and ready to eat once they're on the ground. I put them in jams and jellies. I have made a little salsa, put them in salsa, put them in chutneys, even made like a hot sauce out of them, fermented hot sauce, and those are all great, but mostly I just eat them fresh and raw.